Plumbing distribution system is designed to make it so that when anyone goes to a hot water tap and turns on the water, they will get hot water within 5 seconds and waste no more than a cup of water. That's our ideal, that's our goal. And
structured plumbing is a different way of getting hot water to all the fixtures in the house. Standard approach has been main and branch. You could call this main and twig. This is one main line, which is your recirc loop, generally a bigger line that's pumped, and then small twigs off of that to each point of use. Done right, you run your main line by or as close to all the fixtures as you can. So when you turn on a tap, you have only a few feet of a very small line to bleed water out of before it turns hot. Done right, you can get hot water within 1 or 2 cups.
Was there anything special about, or just tell me about the process of sort of conveying to our people on site here how to do this system? Is it a difficult thing to do? Is it intuitive for people, or?
Somehow it's not intuitive. I don't think it's difficult either, but it's understanding a slightly different set of rules than we're used to. You know, thinking in terms of how many cups of water is not standard. We look at time, but cups is a real specific. You know, how much water do we waste? How much time do we save for showers? But there's 2 kinds of flow in water. One is called plug flow, and one is a flow that basically hot water floats on cold. So even in the same pipe, you can get a ton of hot water on top and cold water underneath.
And is that where you get the warm water?
That's where you get this long warm water, which you can't use, so it's a waste. Getting faster flow through the pipe gets you the plug flow. So you put a big pump on your recirculation loop, your main line, and that does plug flow throughout, purging the whole line, filling it with hot water quickly. And then when you draw a tap, you have just a short, small line.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to keep the flow as unturbulent in the line as you can. So no tight fittings, no serious flow restrictions. If you're using copper, you want to ream the inside of the pipe so there are no burrs. Anything you can do to smooth flow helps.
Okay, now I'm here with Dave Warren, who's the president of Precision Plumbing and Heating, and his company is doing the plumbing work on our job here.
The pump's going to be quite a bit larger than standard. Our hot water main line is going to be a size or 2 larger than normal, so we can send a sludge of hot water through the main for a very short period of time, so that we don't have the mixing of the hot and cold, as was explained earlier. And then there's going to be less restrictions in the plumbing, long sweep fittings for 90-degree turns, and then the main line is going to be ran within 6 feet of the fixture or less, so that there's a very minimal amount of wastewater when the hot water tap's turned on. And as far as the insulation factor, I mean, we used a really high density insulation, a 1-inch wall thickness refrigeration insulation was another factor.
But part of this system, rather than having, in a conventional system in our area, you have to have a hot water recirculation pump that runs all the time, which it causes the hot water to be closer to the fixture all the time, but it has the negative consequence of turning your hot water pipe into what amounts to a radiator. It's always, you're taking the energy that you put into the water and you're basically letting it out all the time. So,
yeah, there have been a number of strategies that have been employed. As Rob said, the code says you've got to have a recirculation system, but they don't tell you anything about how you can control it. They just say turn it on. We've done things like timers that just have it go on when we know the owner is at home and go off at night. But then you're still, instead of running 24/7, you're still probably running 12 hours a day. Then we've tried to shorten it with, well, when it gets up to a certain temperature, then you turn it off, and there have been different control strategies.
And just sort of to give you a sense of scale, in a conventional system where the hot water recirculation loop is working all the time, Stephen was actually showing me a study that shows that in a conventional system that pump might use 220 kilowatt hours over the course of a year. A system like this, where it's on demand, to do the same work, that maybe might use 4 kilowatt hours per year. So if you're thinking every time you walk into the bathroom it's going to fire off the hot water, and maybe they're not always going to use hot water, that's true. But this system is just so much more efficient than a conventional system.
And it's both in terms of kilowatt hours operating the pump and in terms of the energy that it takes to create the hot water.
Exactly. And it bears mentioning probably that this should be normal. This is easy to do. We're not talking about more complicated strategies. It's just things that we can employ if our goal is to have things be more efficient. So it's something we should just should be doing.